All right, do a roll call first.
Senator Norman, how do you vote?
I'm here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Okay, all right. First, we'll have a subcommittee report by Senator Sproul on the utilities subcommittee.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I want to do the easier one first, get out of the way, and then one of them we got to hear. The first one I'm doing is Senate Bill 1247 by Senator Deed. Electric utility closure of carbon emitting generating rates requires each owner of a large carbon emitting power plant to provide a facility retirement study every 18 months. The bill requires that whenever a generation as such owner makes the decision to close a plant, such owner must provide a notice to localities within 14 days of making such decision. It was decided by the subcommittee. We recommend approval 5-0. So I move approval.
All right, you've heard the subcommittee report. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Tom?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Sproul, I think the subcommittee adopted a substitute.
Yes, they did. I just noticed that.
Yeah, okay. I don't have the
All
problem.
right, we have to adopt a substitute for the full committee. All
Second.
right, it's been moved and seconded that subcommittee be adopted. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, the bill as amended with a substitute is now before us. Motion and a second to report Senate Bill 1247 as a substitute. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed, nay.
Senator Norman, how do you vote?
Senator Norman votes aye.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next bill is Senate Bill 1292.
Those reported. Right. Okay.
No.
No, I'm talking about 1247.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. 1284.
All right. Mr. Chairman, we want to skip that one. That's a little bit of a problem. We come back to that if you don't mind.
Okay.
1292, Jennifer McCullough, electric bill over earnings customers bill credit. It requires that the State Corporation Commission to direct that 100% of the amount of a utility earnings above the threshold be credited to a customer's bill. Mr. Chairman, this bill was voted 5-0 by the committee to the PBI. I move, so move.
All right. You've heard the motion. Is there a motion and a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of adopting the subcommittee report of passing 1292 by indefinitely, vote aye. All opposed, no.
Senator Norman, how do you vote?
Senator Norman votes aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ayes 11, noes 3.
The next, Mr. Chairman, is Senate Bill 1295 by Senator DeSteph. Electric utilities procurement requires a utility in the construction of a certain offshore wind, solar, and energy storage facility to procure a subject to competitive process equipped with a Virginia-based or United States-based manufacturing using materials or products or components made in Virginia or the United States. This was moved by the committee to be approved 5-0. I so move.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I believe the subcommittee adopted a substitute.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Senator.
For Senator Sproul, was there any discussion of the cost, if there are competitively priced materials made in the USA available for these items?
No, I don't think so. Tom can help me out because there was no discussion as far as anything going to the Finance Committee, so I don't think there was no discussion on that.
It says on there, subject to competitive process.
But we didn't have, we didn't discuss in the press. It just says that.
Mr. Chairman,
I could just follow up with one question, just to ask either the chairman or the council. Does that mean that it's just a preference for USA-made materials if they're competitively priced? Okay, thank you.
All right. So it was recommended by the committee, Mr. Chairman, 5-0 to be approved. And I so move.
second.
Been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1295, as amended by, with an amendment nature of a substitute, be reported. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed vote nay.
Senator Norman, how do you vote?
I vote aye, thank you.
Two more, Mr.
Ayes
Chairman.
14, no 0.
The next one is Senate Bill 1420, patron Senator Edwards. It says electric utilities, non-jurisdictional customers, third-party power purchase agreement, provide that for a pilot program under which an owner or operator of renewable energy generation facilities sells electricity to an eligible customer generator through a third-party power purchase agreement. Both traditional and non-traditional customers may participate on a first-come, first-served basis. I don't think we have an amendment on that, so it was approved by the committee 4-1. And I so move.
All right. Are there any questions? All right. Need a motion.
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
All right. It's been moved and seconded that the subcommittee report on 1420 be reported. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed, nay.
Senator Norman, how do you vote?
Senator Norman votes aye.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, the last one, I asked the patron to come, Senator Barbola to come on Senate Bill 1284. This is the Commonwealth Clean Energy Policy. It established that the Commonwealth Clean Energy Policy replacing the Commonwealth Energy Policy. So, Mr. Chairman, it was approved by the committee 3-2. So I thought maybe she needed to come to explain that because it was so close to the vote. And she is here.
All right. Yeah.
And we did adopt the substitute, Mr. Chairman. So before she gets started, I move the substitute.
All right. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the substitute. All those in favor vote, say aye. All right. Substitutes before us. Go ahead, Senator Vavola.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. What this is a cleanup of a bill that we all passed last year. It streamlines the Commonwealth energy policy and energy plan, brings it in line with the Clean Economy Act, which we also passed last year. Two important points. We articulate that the Commonwealth is striving to reach a net zero emissions by 2045 in all sectors, including the electric-powered transportation, industrial, agricultural, building, and infrastructure sectors. This bill emphasizes that we will have to transition from our current energy sources to renewable energy, and that is acknowledged in this. And we also state that there will be support for industrial employment as well as our sectors are transitioning. Many stakeholders were involved in this, the environmental communities, but as well as the gas companies and Dominion Energy and other business interests. This is a consensus document. It is also a bill that the governor's office asked me to carry and negotiate. I respectfully ask that the committee pass the substitute.
Any questions of Senator Favola?
There may be speakers. I didn't ask for speakers, but there may be. So it's up to
Well,
you.
generally, heard subcommittee is the place for them to be heard, not here. But any other questions? How does this differ from the Clean Economy Act that we passed last year?
The Clean Economy Act, Mr. Chairman, has real specific sub-targets and actual how shall I put it? Targets for when power plants should, coal power plants should
Right, I
close
understand.
and all that. Mine does not have that. Mine is in sort of global terms.
Okay. And this was pretty much a consensus of all the
Yeah,
players.
yeah, you can ask your subcommittee chair. There was, wide consensus. I didn't have anybody speaking in opposition to it, and we had 7 speakers at the subcommittee meeting.
Okay.
Mr.
All
Chairman, with that, Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
All right, there's a motion and a second to report.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Stevens.
just a reminder that you received a letter today requesting that bill go to the Finance and Appropriations Committee.
That's news to me, but that's
All right,
okay.
why, but okay. All right, so the motion would be to report and refer to finance. All those in favor of reporting and referring to finance, vote aye. Those opposed, nay. All right.
Senator Norman, how do you vote?
Senator Norman votes no.
Ayes 12, noes 3.
All right,
Mr. Chairman?
bill is reported. Senator Sproul.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that's all we have with the subcommittee.
Okay.
The question, Mr. Chairman, is this, what's about the Finance Committee? They want everything to come to them for a reason. Some of these bills don't need to go to finance. We keep sending them up to finance. Nobody know why.
I don't see why it needs to go either, but they've requested it, so we'll do it. But I would agree with you. All right, next we'll take up Senator Serville's 1289.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I present that from here?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd move my substitute.
All right, I move and second to adopt the substitute. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the substitute's before us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the bill that is now before you is a shadow of its former self. The bill was originally introduced was an attempt to had a lot to do with health insurance contracts and anti-steering of hospitals and some other stuff. The bill that is remaining, all it does is it basically says that in every contract with an insurance company, there has to be a provision in there that prohibits the medical provider from discriminating against their patients who are involved in litigation. And the reason that's important is because there are it's come to my attention, at least over the last 24 years, that there are some providers who screen out potential patients who have insurance based on the fact that they were in an automobile accident. And these are people who have insurance, and typically these providers are not supposed to turn these types of people away. I've negotiated this language with the hospital association, the medical providers. I believe that they're fine with this language remaining in the bill. The rest of it is going to go to the HERC and be studied in the HERC over the summer. And that's basically what the bill does.
Okay. So what you're saying is that apparently doctors are, if somebody has a particular condition as a result of an accident or something else, they can't say, well, I can't treat you?
Right, Mr. Chairman, basically what happens is somebody will get in a collision, they'll call up an orthopedic surgeon and say, I'd like to make an appointment with Dr. So-and-so. The receptionist will say, how are you hurt? They'll say I was in a car accident. They'll say Dr. So-and-so doesn't see people that are in car accidents. That's typically what happens. And it's probably a violation of the existing health insurance contract, but the insurers would like to make it explicit in their contracts, and this code section would require them to put it in all their contracts, and it would create some accountability. And again, the healthcare providers were fine with that. The doctors that are doing it, I think, are kind of outliers. The vast majority of healthcare providers don't do this.
Senator Sproul.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Serville, what's the difference between seeing a lawyer and I have referred patients to lawyers and they turn them down because that's the nature of the accident. If the accident wasn't big enough, they don't handle the case.
Right, Mr. Chairman, what I would say to Senator Sproul is that what's different about that is that the lawyer's attorney's fees are not being paid by an insurance company that you have signed a contract to provide to pay your bills with. These doctors sign contracts with the insurance companies agreeing to take the insurance companies' members or patients or whatever. And the doctors are not supposed to pick and choose which people who have the insurance they see. They're supposed to take, for example, everybody that comes in with Anthem, or everybody that comes in with Blue Cross Blue Shield, everybody that comes in with Care First, everybody that comes in, they're supposed to take them if that insured person has that specific insurance. That's part of their contract.
All right. You've heard the bill. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, this bill is significantly different from the one that was introduced, and I would like to hear from anybody from the Hospital Association if they're. I'd like to hear from some hospital people about the substitute.
Mr. Chairman, I would just note for Senator Deeds that this language was in the original bill as introduced, and we basically took out everything else except for this. But the hospital associations, I'm sure that they'd be happy to talk if they're on the line.
Do you have anyone on the line?
Mr. Chair, there are 3 people with their hands raised.
All right. Go ahead. You each have no more than 30 seconds.
Scott Johnson, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Scott Johnson, speaking as General Counsel for the Medical Society. I want to thank Senator Somerville. We worked on this language, and we have no objections to it in its current form. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Next.
Next, we have Brent Rawlings.
Brent, welcome.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, just to echo what Mr. Johnson just said, we are comfortable with this language. This is very different than the bill that was introduced, but we've had a number of conversations, and on this issue, I think we've reached a comfort spot. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Mark Dix, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Mark Dix on behalf of the Virginia Trial Lawyers Association. We support the bill. We appreciate Senator Somerville bringing it forward and working with our partners in healthcare. Thank you.
And lastly, we have Doug Gray.
Mr. Chairman, this is Doug Gray on behalf of the Virginia Association of Health Plans. Since this is the health plans statute, I would just weigh in that we're okay with the language. Thanks.
Can't believe that.
There are no other speakers, Mr. Chairman.
All right. You all heard it. The bill's before us in the form of
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
in the form of a substitute.
And I have a question. All I have is the original bill. Can you tell me what part of the original bill is still here? Which lines?
That might take me a second, Mr. Chairman, but I would note that under Code Section 38.2, 3407.15, it is subsection 13 and the new subsection C in the substitute. If you give me about 60 seconds, I can probably find the lines in the original bill if you really need it.
Line 185?
Hold on. In the original bill, Mr. Chairman, I believe it's around lines 187 to 196 and 187 through lines 206 in the original bill. It's roughly in there, but I believe there's been some changes to the language from the original bill.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Senator Edwards, do you have any more questions? All right, any other questions? All right, we've adopted the substitute. All right, there's a motion. Do I hear a second? That the 1289, Senate Bill 1289, as an amendment in the nature of a substitute, be reported to the full Senate. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed, nay.
Senator Norman, how do you vote?
Senator Norman votes no.
Ayes 14, noes 1.
All right, Senator Barker, you're back for the 3rd year in a row.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. What we have here is Senate Bill 1341, which is the one dealing with the health insurance plan, this one is targeted specifically at realtors. It's one that we discussed extensively last year and had numerous votes, overwhelming votes in favor of it, and then a major vote back in April when we came close to getting it adopted at that time. We had a 35-5 vote in favor of it. This bill is virtually identical to last year with two different changes to it. One was that last year it was done as a broader bill that would have potentially been available to others, people who are not realtors. What's happened this year is because of some concerns that might have some fiscal impact, not to the state, but to other plans and to individuals in the Affordable Care Act individual pool, so that they've limited it just to realtors, so that there would not be a potential for someone else to set up a plan as a result of this legislation. The other change that was made is that most health insurance plans, when they're adopted, enacted in the private market, there are 5 different categories of age groups that the premiums are based upon. There was some concern about that, so this has lowered it to 4 different categories there, which would have a little bit of a negative impact upon some of the very younger population there, who would have generally much more limited costs associated with the insurance that they would have, and would provide a benefit to some of the older persons who would be in it. So those 2 issues have been addressed in this bill this year. What we have done also is made sure that we have information to be able to, for this to operate in ways that are beneficial to the realtors who would be participating in this plan, as well as to the overall operations of health insurance in Virginia. As was stated last year on things, about 20% of the realtors in Virginia do not have health insurance coverage. That's an unusual situation for a class of people that are not at the bottom end of the income scale generally, so that there are significant issues that affect that. By and large, the reason that most real estate companies don't have health insurance coverage for the realtors themselves is that the realtors are not employees directly of each real estate company. The real estate companies contract with the realtors, and the realtors are labeled as independent contractors, and so therefore they're not eligible to be incorporated within a group health insurance plan of a real estate company, and that's part of the reason that that they do not get that health insurance coverage, and you do have 20% of the population being uninsured. That I find is something that I think is simply not acceptable. We need to make sure that the realtors have a good opportunity to be able to participate in a plan such as this. This plan is fully insured, so it's not. It clearly is a fully insured plan and meets all the requirements that would be imposed by the State Corporation Commission. There are provisions in the bill to make sure that the State Corporation Commission, through the Bureau of Insurance, would be able to make it compatible with all the regulations regarding health insurance, even though this would not be categorized as that. And what it does is it makes it a plan that has one pool statewide, so that every realtor is incorporated into the same plan, and you don't get different rates depending upon being in a different part of Virginia. This bill is, if anything, is an improvement on the bills that we had last year in terms of some of the concerns and perceptions about things. So certainly anyone who voted for it last year should be able to vote for it this year, and hopefully we've addressed enough issues in it this year. We bent over backwards to try to make sure that we did address issues that have been raised on this, and hopefully we'll be able to swing a few votes our way on people that did not vote for it last year. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Mason.
I have a couple questions for Senator Barker. Senator Barker, you and I suffered through having similar bills last year, although they were very different, and yet the talking points used against us were the same.
Right.
So one of those was, can you charge senior citizens substantially more money for a program with this policy?
No, and in fact, this would make it so that the differential between those who are the youngest people and those who are the older population is actually less of a difference in terms of the premiums than is the norm for the private insurance plans all across the Commonwealth that are charged of state employees and everybody else who participates in private insurance.
Mr. Chairman, can you discriminate against people with pre-existing conditions with this plan?
No, you cannot, and this comports with all of the provisions of the Affordable Care Act in terms of age, coverage, pre-existing conditions, all those types of things, gender, none of those types of discriminatory practices that used to be in force in some private insurance plans are permissible under this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Senator Bell.
Thank you for that information on the previous questions. Different question, same line. Catastrophic caps, are those the same as the Affordable Care Act?
Yes, they are completely the same as the Affordable Care Act. They have to comply with everything, all those types of things that are in the Affordable Care Act.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, any other questions? All right, if there's no other, okay, how many?
Mr. Chairman, there are 4 people with their hands raised.
Hey, Mr. Chairman. I mean, this is like the third time we've heard this bill. I don't want to deny the public any input, but I think we all know where we are on it.
Okay.
I mean, I'd move to report.
Second. All right, there's a motion and a second to report Senate Bill 1341. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed vote nay.
Senator Norman, how do you vote?
I vote no.
14-1.
As 14, noes 1.
All right, the last bill, and that's Senator Marsden's.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I handle this from my desk?
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to speak to the bill just for a moment and then have a motion. What this bill does is that requires local government to come up with an ordinance or whatever if they're going to consider a project labor agreement with a union in the construction of a road, bridge, transportation project. And I like PLAs. I think they lead to on time, on budget, safer jobs. I think they're really great things. But I also think the public, if we're going to shift to a world where we're going to see more of these, the public is owed an explanation as to why the local government finds that it's in the public interest to do that. And the bill just merely gives some things that you can consider. It doesn't create a standard you have to hit or anything like that. It's kind of just a transparency thing. But I think the issue here is that labor didn't really have a chance to really look this thing over. It's done in a lot of other states, and they want to kind of pick, help, select what the best language might be and where it seems to be working the best in this country. So what I would like to do, Mr. Chairman, is to ask that this bill go by for the week, which, as you know, what that means, and also that I will pull together a stakeholder group with the transportation folks and labor to come up with an exploration of what is the best possible language, what's the best practice around the country, what can we all get behind, because I think everyone's in favor of transparency. VDOT is doing this. Since there's no rush at the door here to do PLAs, we have plenty of time. Let's get this right and make sure that everybody gets heard in the process, and we'll come up with something next year that might be a little bit better. So that is my motion, is to take the bill by for the week.
Mr. Chairman? Eben, yeah, just wanted to ask if you could include local government representatives in your discussions.
Certainly, Senator Eben, we can do that. I know Fairfax County had some concerns about it that they just weren't ready yet, and so we will be certain to do that in this informal stakeholder group that I put together.
All right, keep in mind the PLA law doesn't go into effect till May 1st. So, all right, you've heard the motion to go by for the week. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, it's by for the week, and if there's no other business to come before the committee will rise.